Welcome back to the channel's Super Academico and Blue Eye Patch. Let us keep the reading of my book Clueders, Meire Pop Beyond the Cloud, available on Amazon. In this part, we will keep the reading of the Chapter 6, a reminder of the future, games, books, and digital life. Don't forget to subscribe to both channels and like and share the video. Let's go! The following week, I spent a lot of time researching comments on the blog and my social networks to see if there was any clue of who might have invaded the blog and posted that note about my presence in the bookstore. My personal life was still quite discreet in the cloud, but this could change at any time if I were to be recognized in public places. Leandro helped me to install an application on both my computer and my cell phone that helped track down inappropriate access to my email accounts, profiles, and social networks. With the ever-increasing convergence of our personal life into the digital world, it came to exist as a second version of ourselves within the cloud. Even people totally alien to digital technologies were somehow present in the cloud, since it was enough to have a document number or bank account that soon appeared in the cloud. Hence, for hackers and crackers, the pioneers of the cloud world, finding a security breach and attacking was just a matter of time, luck, or fate. I just did not want to be caught off guard again. As soon as the application started to run on the computer, the people who used to use my digital life appeared. No surprise to see recurrent visits to my profiles from my parents, who always kept an eye on what I was doing on the internet. Leandro himself, who was even a little embarrassed to appear so much, as if he were watching me too. Marcos, who although less frequent now, was still a frequent visitor, some close schoolmates, and even Vinny Mayo, who would read my stuff from time to time. But our great surprise was to see a rather unusual profile appearing as a frequent visitor, Professor Mello, the same one we have met before in the bookstore. Leandro and I looked at each other with some perplexity and suspicion. What on earth does your teacher want with me? How could I know? Didn't you tell him about me? Not at all, Meire. I like his lectures, but I've never had more conversations with him. Well, it's obvious he knows you and knows me, more than I thought from what I can see. It may be because of your blog. See how the accesses are. Already, with almost 500,000 views per week. He is a professor of history and literature, and you yourself heard him praising your writing. Yes, Leo. But from the application we installed, he has accessed several things about me, besides the blog. Social networks, navigation history, and contacts. Soon it even appears that he was the one who invaded my blog and made that post. There's no way, Meire. If it was he that had used your password, then he would leave no trace of it. What do you mean? This type of invasion depends on other elements. Knowing the habits and tastes of the person. Knowing dates and names of the people nearby. But isn't it exactly what has been recorded in our digital life? The cloud is not there for everyone to access. He paused to think for a moment and was forced to agree. Yeah, I guess you're right. And what do you intend to do about it? I looked at the computer screen and thought for a moment. With a smart smile, I looked back at him and said, I'll do the same as him. Watch his life. He smiled a little sheepishly. After all, Mello was his teacher, but he did not have much to argue about, for it was also my life on the cloud, my privacy. We left the computer running the program and went to dinner. Note: Leandro was increasingly present in our family life. And sometimes his parents also came to have lunch with us. In this regard, my life was very cool because we were enjoying life together and our families too. During the following week, we passed researching on the life of Professor Mello. Graduated in literature at age 19 and also with a graduate degree in computer science, the rising academic looked as if he would take off in his career before turning 25. After finishing his PhD abroad, he had already returned with a proposal to lecture at a large university. From what I found out on the internet, he was a professor at this university for about 5 years. He was the youngest doctor to enter his paintings and showed a very promising academic production, with some publications quite influential both in the area of literature and contemporary culture. His interest in this latter area seemed to be the result of his training in computer science, as his publications and courses were very much about the growing presence of the digital world in people's lives. Actually, he was very quoted, as if he was some kind of a cloud godfather. It was not like he's created the term, nor could, but his spirit and influence was one of the most enthusiastic about the strength of the cloud in the construction of contemporary reality, hence he's seen as a grandfather or uncle of clouders, mostly young people under 20 like me. Digging a little more, I was curious to find out why he had gone from emerging university professor to a simple high school teacher. I found out that he was one of the network researchers who coined the term neurointernet. This was indeed very interesting. When I bumped into this concept a few months earlier, I probably should have seen his name being mentioned because the idea had been conceived by a network of people around the planet who constantly exchanged information on the development of the internet and life in the digital cloud. Professor Mello was a frequent member of the Clouders culture, even though he tried to deny this in his talk about literature and digital culture. I watched a few clips from his recorded lectures shortly before he left the university. His theories were being widely respected by the academic community. His lectures and classes were always crowded, but something happened that changed all that. In fact, it was many things altogether from what I could see in the news and archives from that time. Although registration and broadcasting are much more agile nowadays, a lot of the data were preserved and placed on the internet later. Note, it may seem that I talk a long time ago, but actually it was only 20 years ago, that is 5 years before I was born, but for digital technology this was really a long time. 20 years of evolution in digital technology equals nearly a century of normal history. Apparently, Professor Mello had become obsessed with a recurring theme in his articles, the effect of accessing the digital world on the intelligence of young people in a negative way. In some of his presentations, he even seemed a desperate preacher in a crusade in favor of analogical forms of communication as a way of rescuing the critical and creative capacity of young people. In an excerpt from an interview for TV, he said, "The young people of today have everything very easy on the internet, and so they do not strive for anything. They are condemning themselves to a robotic future without creativity. You believe that I have students today of literature who never took a printed book to read. They say they prefer the digital versions, but I know very well what they do is take summaries on the internet, comments ready, pre-made interpretations. Imagine what the future literature will look like if these young people who are in college studying literature don't know what it is to read a work altogether."
I hope you have enjoyed this reading. Continuing to support the channel's Super Academico and Blue Eye Patch. Subscribe, like and share the video. Bye-bye.